Hello and welcome to 64 Squares Official. Today's game is a fascinating clash between Denis Lazavik, one of the young stars of the new generation, and Hikaru Nakamura, one of the strongest and most experienced speed chess players in the world. The game was played in the 2026 Esports World Cup playoffs. With a 10-minute time control, Nakamura had the rating advantage, but Lazavik showed tremendous fighting spirit and eventually created serious winning chances. What makes this game especially memorable is the incredible sequence at the end. After 70 moves, with both kings exposed and the queens still on the board, the game was an absolute thriller. So let's go through it move by move. d4, d5, c4 and e6. Lazavik begins with the classical queen's pawn opening and Nakamura responds with the queen's gambit declined. Knight to c3, knight f6, captures. White chooses the exchange variation after black recaptures with the e-pawn. The position becomes strategically important. Black gets an isolated looking pawn structure but active piece play. Bishop to g5, bishop to e7, e3 and castling. Both players develop naturally. White pins the knight and prepares to develop the bishop while Nakamura safely castles. Bishop to d3, rook to e8, knight f3 and h6. Nakamura challenges the bishop with h6. Bishop to h4, knight to e4, a nice centralizing move. Black's knight jumps to e4, putting pressure on white's position and forcing white to make a decision. Bishop takes e7 and rook takes e7. Lazavik exchanges the bishop for the knight's support and Nakamura recaptures with the rook. Queen to c2, knight takes c3 and b takes c3. Another exchange. White accepts double pawns but in return gets the bishop pair and a strong center. c5, queen to d2 and knight d7. Now white goes for kingside castling and b6. Both sides are maneuvering. Nakamura prepares to develop his bishop to b7 while Lazavik looks for activity on the queen side. a4 and bishop to b7, rook f to b1 and bishop to c6. White begins expanding with the a-pawn. Black's bishop moves to c6, keeping an eye on the queen side. Bishop to b5 and queen to c7. Now a5. Lazavik continues pushing. He's trying to create weaknesses before black can completely consolidate. A bishop takes b5, rook takes b5 and queen to c6. Black eliminates the bishop while the queen moves to c6 and keeps the position under control. Rook b to b1 and rook e to e8. The rooks are repositioned. The position is extremely balanced. Now captures. The queen side structure changes, opening the a file. Queen to b2 and rook takes a1 and rook takes a1 and rook to a8. Nakamura exchanges one pair of rooks and immediately activates the remaining rook. At this point, neither side has a clear advantage. Now h3 and rook to a5, d takes c5, rook takes a1 with a check and queen takes a1 and knight takes c5. The position simplifies further. White has managed to win a pawn but black has active pieces and good defensive resources. And then comes knight to d4 and queen to f6. This is Nakamura's first major mistake. The engine preferred queen to b7, keeping the queen more active and maintaining better defensive coordination. After queen to f6, Lazavik immediately finds the tactical opportunity. Queen to a8 check. Now the white queen becomes extremely active and king goes h7. Queen takes d5. Lazavik wins another pawn. Suddenly white has a significant advantage. Queen to g6, c4 and knight to e4. Nakamura tries to generate counterplay with his knight. Now knight to b5, a missed opportunity. The stronger continuation here was knight to f5, keeping the knight more aggressively placed. Lazavik still has the advantage, but he allows Nakamura some breathing room. Knight to f6 and Nakamura immediately returns the favor. The better move here was knight to g5, giving black more active counterplay. Queen to d1 and knight to e4, queen to c2 and f5. Nakamura pushes the f-pawn, trying to create attacking chances around the white king. Now knight to d4 and queen to f6, g4 and g6. White begins advancing on the king side as well. King to g2 and knight to d6. The position is becoming extremely complicated. c5, Lazavik pushes the pawn, but this is not the most accurate continuation. Knight to b5 was the stronger move. Now b takes c5, queen takes c5, f takes g4, queen to c7 check and knight to f7. White still has the advantage. Now h takes g4. White removes the dangerous pawn. Then Nakamura makes another serious mistake. h5. The engine gives king to g7 as a better defense. Lazavik could have immediately responded with g takes h5, but instead he played knight to f3, another missed opportunity. Nakamura survives, king to g8 and captures. The king's side structure becomes much more complicated. Queen to c4 and queen to g6 check. Now black's queen becomes active. King to f1 and queen to b1 check. King to e2 and queen to b2 check. Nakamura keeps checking the king. This is an important practical moment. Even though white has a better position, black's queen is extremely dangerous. Knight to d2 and king to g7. Queen to d5, white centralizes the queen. King to g6, another inaccuracy from Nakamura. The stronger move here was h4, trying to create more counterplay. Now f4, Lazavik continues pushing his pawns and maintaining a strong advantage. Queen to b6 and king to f3. White could have been more precise with knight to e4. Instead, the king moves forward. Now queen to f6, Nakamura again misses the stronger h4. Now knight to e4, the knight comes into the center and queen to h4. This is a serious mistake. The better defense was queen to f5. Now white's attack becomes extremely dangerous. Queen to e6 check, a powerful check. Now king goes g7, knight to g3 and queen to d8. White's pieces coordinate beautifully. Now knight takes h5 check. Lazavik gives up some of his advantage. The stronger move here was knight to f5 check, but the biggest mistake is still to come. Now king to g8, knight to f6. This is the critical moment of the entire game. The engine evaluates the position as essentially equal after this move. Lazavik had knight to g3, maintaining his winning chances. Instead, knight to f6 allows Nakamura to activate his queen. Now queen to d1 check, and suddenly the game changes completely. White's king is dragged across the board. King to e4 and queen to c2 check. The king moves towards the center. Now king to d4 and queen to d2 check, another check. King to c5 and queen to c3 check. The king continues marching forward. King to b6 and queen to b4 check. It looks almost unbelievable. White king is now deep into black's territory. King to c7 and queen to c5 check. Nakamura continues the perpetual check mechanism. Now queen to c6 and queen a7 check. White tries to escape the checks by interposing the queen. King to c8 and queen takes e3. Black grabs another pawn while maintaining control. Knight to d7 check and king goes g8. Lazavik keeps searching for winning chances. Now queen to g6 check and king to h8. Queen to f6 check and king to g8. The queens dance around the kings. Queen to g6 check and king to h8. Another repetition-like sequence, but white is not simply repeating. Now queen takes f7. Lazavik grabs another pawn. Now the position is incredibly sharp. Now queen to c5 check, king to d8 and queen to c7 check. Black continues checking. King to e7 and queen takes d7 with a check. Nakamura captures the knight, but white's king remains active. King to f6 and queen to f5 check. And now comes the final tactical moment. King takes f5. White's king captures the queen. It appears white has finally won, but there is a stunning twist, and the game ends in stalemate. Despite white capturing black's queen, the position is stalemate. There are no legal moves available for Nakamura's king, and it is not in check. Therefore, it is a stalemate, an absolutely extraordinary finish. This game was a roller coaster. For much of the middle game, the position was completely balanced. Then came queen to f6 on move 27. That gave Lazavik a significant advantage. Lazavik subsequently had several opportunities to increase that advantage, especially with knight to f5, g takes h5 and knight to f5 check. But the decisive moment was knight to f6, which allowed Nakamura to activate his queen and completely change the character of the game. What followed was an incredible king hunt, with white's king traveling all the way from f1 to f6 while both players were playing with very little time remaining, and after all of that comes king takes f5, a stalemate. A game that looked like it would end in a dramatic victory instead ended in one of the chess' rarest and most surprising results. If you enjoyed this analysis and want to see more incredible games from the Esports World Cup 2026, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next game. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.